Walk us through how did it all started? I mean, tell us about your journey a little bit back and go from there.
Yeah, so I think the best way to start is actually just starting from the beginning. Like how you said, I was 16 when I kind of just start picking all this stuff up. I was working for Dunkin Donuts for a while. Every day I would get out of school as much as I can at that age, keep working and working and working. And eventually I saved up to buy my first car, which after buying my first car, it was a couple $1,000s. I was like, wow, I just spent all this time working a job to spend it on an item, and now I have to go right back to working and do this whole cycle over and over again. And a lot of people, which I didn't realize, live that lifestyle. They live, waking up, going to work, or waking up. They live that American, quote unquote, American dream lifestyle where you wake up, you go to school, you get a good degree, you get a good job, then you work until you're 60, and then, live off of Social Security, and that's about it. Which to me, that couldn't be me. I didn't envision that's not who I envision Elijah being. I knew that I needed to work. Obviously, everyone needs to work, but I knew that I'm not going to be, Elijah the baker. I didn't want to be Elijah than any other label that had on my name. I knew I didn't want to start some business on eBay selling some, product or something like that. I knew that there has to be somewhere, some type of way where all of the big fish are at, even in stock investing. I kind of picked up penny stocks, but after realizing that that's kind of just, one kind of, I wouldn't say gamble, the strategies to it. But at the end of the day, that's a variable that you cannot control whatsoever and how that market changes. So in a way, yes, it is a gamble. So after pretty much finding that out, in my head, I'm like, where is all the real money coming from? And after doing a lot of searching online, I found real estate and passive income or fire financially independent, retire early. But because of that, or in order to financially independent, retire early, you have to have passive income. There's no retiring if you have to wake up and go to work every single day. Right. Yeah. So after spending on all that money on my car and stuff, I realized that I don't want to go to college. I did go to college for about a year and then I kind of dropped out. Thank God I was on financial aid, so I didn't have to pay anything because that was the big key takeaway is that I want to use this money that I'm using or earning now very young to put it into something that's going to project me even further. If I were to go get a degree, sure, now I have a degree, but now I'm in thousands of dollars of debt. And I'm actually working at a job right now that I got out of high school where I would need a degree for. A little bit of background, I work at M&T Bank as a supervisor. I'm the vault custodian, so I control the vault. But I was hired there at the age of 17, right after I started working for Dunkin. I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to start surrounding myself by like-minded people. As like Machiavelli said, in order to base the intelligence off of a ruler, you look at the people who you surround himself with. So working at Dunkin, there was obviously no one who had like that kind of mentality of me. So I started working at the bank as a teller. A couple months ago, I got promoted to supervisor teller. So I kind of just order, the cash of the branch, control the vault, to the tellers and whatnot and stuff like that. But through me working at the bank, I've met my mentor, LaShawn, who is one of the biggest help to me right now. I always bounce ideas off of his head. He kind of just came down. We have an upper office at my branch with other like wealth advisors and stuff like that. He came down to do a transaction, and I was looking at his accounts, and I was like, "Hey, these are operating accounts, and these are reserve accounts." Because he literally had the LLC, as in two something West Bear Road LLC. That's what most people do is once you have that property in an LLC, you just name it. It's a lot easier to keep track of things. But I noticed that those are reserves and operating accounts. I was like, you do real estate? And he was like, yeah. And then from there, it's kind of just an explosion. I've been out to lunch with him 100 times. I always bounce ideas off of his head and stuff like that. And me working at the bank, I sit right next to the loan officer who did my loan for me for my mortgage. So it wasn't no like it was I can easily just go to her and say, hey, how's this going? How's this going? It was very, very little delay, which is, a big bonus of me working at the bank. But back to the conversation with my mentors. I actually have two mentors. I have LaShawn, and then I have my older mentor. He's like in his 80s. Greg, he owns about 72 units right now. I met Greg at boxing, like how I said I did boxing very young when I was 16. So I kind of came up to him. I'm like, Greg, how are you always here? It seems like you're always here all the time. He's like, well, I have my own business. And I'm like, what kind of business? He's like, I'm a landlord. Oh, like a real estate investor? And he's like, yeah, that's exactly what I do. And so I've been at Greg's house. I've been at tons of his properties, always helping him just so I can learn for myself and what to do. That's the only reason why I kind of just, instead of hanging out with my friends, instead of playing video games all day, instead of, going out to the club, which is what most of my friends do at this age, I realized you can't have all that if you want to be number one. If you want to be successful, you have to make sacrifices, which that was one of the biggest sacrifices I did was allocating my time to actually go better myself and further myself, getting hands-on on the property and stuff like that. Because before this, it took me from the 16 to the 19. When I was about 18, this is when I really started to take this thing seriously. And every single day, I would use like pretty much every single second of my time to go in bigger pockets. On my way to work every single day, I don't remember the last time I listened to music. I just listened to podcasts all the time, which I still do. I never listen to music in the car anymore because it's just kind of, like a waste. You might as well just get free information while you're on the road. But during that 1 year of kind of building up to this, that's when I took everything to the absolute extreme. I knew I needed to have insurance. I knew I needed to get my bookkeeping in track. I knew I needed to know how to actually be a landlord and how actually do the rehab that I'm doing. But at that time, kind of what I realized that, hey, I can't just really sit here and read books and listen to podcasts all day. I've already been doing it for about a year now. It's kind of time to just jump into the fire, which is what you have to do. You have to take that leap in order to, to get into there. And both my mentors are kind of like, well, what are you waiting for? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm waiting for. He's like, and then they all said, I think it's fear. And that's exactly what it was. It was me just being afraid of, the what ifs. What if the house catches on fire? What if this goes on? What if that goes on? Which, that's covered by insurance, but all those one if should be expelled if you have all of your systems in place. Like, for example, I had a $10,000 cash reserve just for the property after buying the property. So, like, I think it was a couple months ago, my tenant's scolding valve went out, which is like an $800 cost. If I had no reserves, I would be screwed. That would be significantly dipping into my cash flow that I don't or even have right now because I only have one unit, which is why it's very important to have those reserves and not, be afraid to use the reserves because that's what they're for. But anyways, fears like that is kind of what held me back. And let me think for a second. Oh yeah, yeah. So fears like that is what held me back from actually going towards my goal and chasing it. And when I first started out, I didn't know if I wanted to do house hacking. I didn't know if I wanted to do a burr, something else along those strategies. But the more I kept diving deeper and deeper into what strategy I want to use, I realized that you can't chase two rabbits at once. I don't remember what Bigger Pockets book it was. I think it was by Brandon Turner. My apologies for not really remembering right now. But the one quote I always remember is that if you chase two rabbits at one time, going after the burn method and, a different strategy, trying to see which one's better, you're never going to catch one. You're never going to be able to lock in on one and actually just focus and go all the way percent 100 with it, which is what I think I did very well with house hacking. So
Yeah, absolutely. In regards to, like chasing two rabbits, it's more about, doesn't matter which aspect you look at. It could be systems in place, hiring people, or the real estate strategy. Whenever you have competing, options and you're trying to chase two rabbits at once, you have to let go of one rabbit and
yes,
choose which one is a little bit more important to you and pick that one and chase that and capture that.
yes, exactly. Which to me that was it was kind of scary, but the more you once I let one go and dove deeper into the other one, it just all pretty much came naturally.